Now, the ANC in Ekurhuleni has finally managed to elect new leaders ahead of the much-anticipated provincial conference. Both Mzwandile Masina and Nciza retained their positions as the regional chairperson and secretary, respectively. The conference had its own fair share of drama, with outstanding disputes delaying the registration process by almost 2 days. What should we read into these latest patterns of ANC conferences? To answer that, we're joined by political analyst Professor Sipho. A very good morning to you. What should we be reading out of the drama and the finger-pointing and disputes?
We should worry when we have a party that has declared itself or tries to position itself as an effective instrument for the liberation of people, that it is there to serve the people. And if this is how the leaders are appointed, then it doesn't augur well for the type of deliberations and the conduct in the next coming 5 years. And one must also understand that this behavior has become almost part of the DNA of the ANC and has also been condoned at the national level. If you go back in 2017, we had what was even described by the current president, Ramaphosa, as a festival of chairs instead of a festival of ideas. And yet the outcome of that conference was almost accepted. And when you begin to accept a behavior and the outcome of a behavior that you say is not characteristic of your party, then that leads to a condemnation. We saw the same behavior emerge out of the recent ANC provincial conference in Eastern Cape, where the debates around policy were nowhere to be seen, where it was all about jostling around positions. Yet when you go to the ANC constitution, members are expected to join the party voluntarily, without expectation of any material advantage or personal gain. But right now, the mere fact that you can have a conference concluded and there are no discussions about the people, about the policies, then the idea of the party being an instrument for the liberation of people is becoming almost just a nice sounding words meaning nothing. So that should be actually worrisome. But what is more worrisome is the extent of the divisions. If you look at the numbers, you can see a divided ANC. When you have a contest where the outcome would be 20%, 80% on the other side, then you can say at least there's a convergence of sorts. But when they are almost split in the middle and you have a small number of differences, then you are actually talking about factionalism. But this factionalism is not also something that starts now. Most people tend to think that it comes now. If you go back to 2007 report by Kgalema on the status of the party, he talks about that the party has managed to attract the filth, the rogue elements, factionalists, careerists. But also he says we must also understand that given that our people see these positions as job opportunities, hence they fight because most of them are unemployed. So you could also say the desperation that we see in terms of position, it's also an indicator that the ANC as a government has actually failed to create the job opportunities. And people will seek any platform to say, if I become a councillor, I am going to at least earn a salary for the next coming 5 years. So these are no longer about the service to the people. So we should worry very much when this has become almost what we expect from the ANC conferences.
In fact, we saw some of that worry coming out of the ANC Gauteng chairperson David Makhura as he described the chaotic scene, saying that he's ashamed of the members and describing conference as a war zone where people's lives are at stake.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we talk about people being killed in the ANC, it no longer raises eyebrows. So the concept of even comradeship has actually gone. So we must also probably part of the problem is that we have come so, how do you put it? We have embraced the idea that the ANC represents all that is good, or most of that is good. But the time and again, we get these impressions. But the point is that the leadership, in as much as it can bemoan what has happened, we have not seen in the last 5 years or 10 years, while they knew that this is what is becoming the character. We have not seen efforts to try to do that. Instead, as I said earlier, you see a condemnation of this behavior, where the very same people who came out of chaotic processes like those get embraced. So when you do that, you're simply saying, look, ultimately it's really, we must go through this. So this notion of saying, well, then we'll have a policy debate afterwards, simply indicates that we no longer have the party, that or the pronouncements of the party and the behavior are two different things.
Professor, you make mention of factionalism. You speak about a divided ANC. Mzwandile Masina's slate won all the top posts at the ANC Ekurhuleni Regional Conference. And a lot of criticism was also leveled against Masina, many or some saying that it was under his watch that the numbers declined. What do you make of him being nominated again?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. The party has not endeared itself within the ordinary people. And part of the reason is because the party has not behaved like a liberation movement. And even as we speak, if you take back since 2017, what has the party been about? It has been all about quarrels, squabbles. It has been about trying to patch each other. It has been about hearing that so-and-so had been killed and that the person was killed because of positions. This is what the party has actually become. So this is actually worrying. But also the loss of confidence is not only limited to Ekurhuleni. This has actually become national. I mean, we should know now when you have the president of the country getting booed by workers, when he used to be a leader of workers. That is actually embarrassing. When he gets booed by ordinary citizens, then that is embarrassing. So the loss of confidence is national, and it's not only limited at the local level, it extends up to the top leadership of the ANC. And they can pretend all they want, but the people on the ground are very clear. And what is interesting is one of the ally of the ANC, the South African Communist Party, has also come with a report that suggests that they need to look beyond the ANC being a governing party in 2024, because they can actually see what is coming. They can read the signs. And unfortunately, as I say, all this behavior continue to be condoned, especially for as long as those who want a particular outcome see that outcome. But having said that, the matter of Mzwandile winning is not yet over, because there are votes, 19 votes that have been quarantined. And we may have to wait until there is a pronouncement at the national level that where the National Dispute Resolution Committee will pronounce itself about whether those votes should be accepted or not. But what is very clear is that the outcome is factional, and this is not to say the one side is better than the other. It's simply to say the party has failed despite having committed itself to deal with the issue of unity. It has failed dismally, and we see the outcome of that failure in almost every conference.
Exactly, and with the conferences held in the recent months being marred by complaints about membership manipulation, allegations about the exclusion of particular branches, I mean, with Ekurhuleni not spared the political drama, what then are the expectations of the much-anticipated provincial conference? I mean, are we going to see more of the same, chaos coming and unfolding as we take to that provincial conference?
My suspicion is that we are going to see that. But what should also concern us is also the use of money by those with big pockets. I mean, the fact that the outcome of 2017, the issues of the campaign funding, which remains sealed at the moment, that itself is one of those things that says how can we actually take these people seriously? How can you have a party president who talks about transparency, but it's transparency when it refers to all other people? And it's also worrying now that we also have a Zonda Commission, which itself does not seem to have done a good job. I mean, if one considers the reports that are coming from the United States, where you have a company like Glencore, which has been accused of bribing executives, officials, and even judges. And when you have some information that is sealed, we do not know how much more of this bribing that happened in the U.S. and other countries has happened in our own country. We must not pretend that the Glencore became a good citizen in this country, but a bad citizen everywhere else. So those who are suggesting that even Zondo should be investigated on this matter, they are actually on the money, because we need to actually be assured that when somebody sits there and say this is clean and these people are exonerated, we do not suspect that it is an outcome that is driven by a political agenda.
Yeah. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe speaking about the ANC conferences.